Methods are a way of grouping code that give us control over when and how often that code runs. Many methods are built into processing, such as setup and draw. Other built-in methods, as we've gone over, are mouse drag, mouse press, key press, mouse release, key release, and those all have a built-in frequency that they occur and time that they occur. Setup happens once at the beginning, draw happens 60 times a second for as long as the program runs. Mouse pressed happens when the mouse is pressed, just once. So we can also make methods that are our own methods if we have a group of code that we want to be able to use more than once. So the example that we started earlier today was void ice cream. And to start out, I'll just make this ice cream cone using static numbers. I'm going to get an ice cream color, or a cone color. That seems fine. And then I'll make a triangle. So I'll just use to start out with, I'll say let's have about 225, 250, 275, 250, 250, 350. And then I'm going to do fill, pick an ice cream color. I'll go with strawberry. And then an ellipse. Centered at 250, 250, and I'm going to make it 60 by 60 pixels. Now, I should add my size and my background and set up and draw as usual. And if I play this program, even though I've used these numbers, I don't see the ice cream cone. And that's because even though we made the method ice cream, there's no built-in time or frequency for that method to happen. We have to tell it when we want the method to happen, just like we'd have to tell it anytime we wanted a rectangle to appear or any of the other functions. So I'm going to say ice cream here and draw. If I rerun it, I get my ice cream cone. But this isn't very useful because we've used these static numbers. This is the only place on the screen we can draw this ice cream cone, so that's pretty useless. So we want to change the location, any of the location parameters in the ice cream method to variables, so then we can give those variables values. So I'm going to make let's make 250x. So 225 is x minus 25, 275 is x plus 25, 250 is x. And then let's make y 250, so that's just y, and y plus 100. Okay, so I've used these variables for all of the parameters in ellipse and triangle that have to do with the location of those shapes. However, now I'm getting all of these underlines underneath the x and y variables because they haven't been declared. What we have been doing is declaring them as global variables up at the top outside of any method so we can use them everywhere. But if I made a global variable for this ice cream cone, I could still only have one ice cream cone because those global variables each can only have one value at a time. I want to set them up as variables that are local to the ice cream class, and not just local, but they are setting themselves up as places in the program, placeholders for parameters that I'm going to pass in later. So these are variables that exist to take in the values of that we set up as parameters when we call the function. So here I'm going to say int x comma int y. And this means that when I call that ice cream method, the first parameter that I pass in is going to be assigned to x, and anywhere there's an x in a program, it will give that value that I put in as the first parameter. The second value I put in as a parameter will be assigned to y, and anywhere in the program where there is a y, it will substitute in that number. So as you can see right now, ice cream is underlined because it's giving us an error that says the function ice cream accept parameters like ice cream int. It's saying I can't run ice cream now without those two parameters because I don't know what to do with x and y otherwise. So if I put in 250, 250, which were the original values I used for x and y, it will look exactly the same. But now this allows me to use ice cream again, and maybe I'll say 100, 100. And I have another ice cream cone because X and Y exist locally in the ice cream. So it means that the X and Y of this ice cream cone, those two variables, are not connected to the X and Y, the variables of this ice cream cone. So in the first one, 250 is assigned to X and then subbed in anywhere where there's an X. And 250 is assigned to Y. It's subbed in wherever there's a Y, so we draw that one. But then if I call it again, it's subbed in different values for X and Y. So I could say ice cream, I don't know, 400, 200, and get an ice cream in another place. If I tried to put another parameter in, I'm going to get an error. Again, the function ice cream expects parameters like int, because I only have two variables declared in here between the parentheses, set up as those places to hold the values of the parameters that we pass in. Again, that's called passing parameters. We're passing the parameters of the place where we call the method into those variables here, who use those values in the places of those variables throughout the method. So that's corrections for the homework due today.